All right. Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Draglist Live, where we get to bench race with the world's top drag racers. My name's Bill Pratt. It's great to be with you tonight. And tonight we feature Jed Dubach, who's going to tell us all about the history and current status of the Iron Butterfly gas dragster. Really excited to talk to Jed tonight. Excuse me. A little bit of a walking pneumonia still with me, but it's only the cough. I feel great. So bear with me tonight. Before we bring Jed in, let's go to John. John, how are you doing?
We're doing great here, BP, and howdy from Houston, everybody. Please join us on the live chat. The chat board is on the right side of your YouTube window. Tell us who you are and where you're from. I'll take notes and I'll pass your questions and comments along to BP and Jed.
All right, thank you, John. And folks, click the like and click the share button. Let your friends know we have Jed here live. At least one of us will be live, and I'll do subscribe to the show while you're out there. But without further ado, let's bring him in to save me, if nothing else. Jed Dubach, welcome to the show. And am I getting that right? Is it Dubach or Dubach? What do you prefer, sir?
Bach, like
Dubach. Woohoo! I
like
rocked
the
it.
composer Bach.
I love it. Well, welcome. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, not too bad, hanging in there.
And and it's a complete coincidence, everybody. But I believe that butterfly is actually something to hang keys on, despite the name of the car. That
Yeah,
wasn't placed there on purpose.
yeah, it was just there. I didn't even realize it was there. So
Awesome. Well, we always follow the theme, of course, with the beautiful John Bockelman background behind me.
yeah.
But your dad Harry drove this car way back in the '70s. I know we
Mhm.
actually have a Draglist entry for him, and so tell us a little bit. But I think you guys got a hold of it a little bit before that. Tell us a little bit about the history of the car.
Well,
Um,
he started racing in the '50s, and then like his street car and stuff, and that's where he got his you know love of it. And then the early '60s, he started. That's when he fell in love with the dragsters, and he had two or three different cars. He was partners with a couple people here and there, but this actual car, he started it in '68 and put the front end on, and then in '69 he put the rear piece on from the firewall back, and then put the body on. So the body was, when it was complete, was in '69 when it was completed. And this is what, the fourth paint job that's been on this car.
wow.
One, two, three. Yeah, this is the fourth paint job that's been on this car. First two were really pretty cool, '70s paint jobs, really neat. But he drove it from '69 until 1980.
Okay.
In Comp Eliminator, he ran Comp Eliminator, C Gas in the beginning, C Gas Dragster, and then B Gas Dragster.
Right. I've got him running 870s in '76 with a B gasser. Now that may or may not have been his best times, but the one snapshot of the race I saw there at Bonneville had him running in that.
Yeah, yeah, he would. It would have been in the '70s, 870 something, and that was
Mhm.
probably, at that time it was probably the 336 cubic inch motor.
Right,
Uh,
it was indeed. Yeah,
Probably about that time was what that one. I mean, trying to go off of memory. So
right.
because he ran a 310 before that, 310 cubic inch.
Okay.
But it's always
Well,
been.
that's what we list. I don't know where we got it. I have no idea where we got the info, but
Oh, I don't know. I could have put it on there at one point in time because it seems like I had added some runs that I had made to the
Mhm.
Draglist thing, years ago. But who knows for sure?
Yeah, very awesome. Was it an injected car at the
Oh,
time?
yep, it was. It's always been an injected small block. The only thing that's
Beautiful.
really changed from then till now is we've gone to alcohol, and then obviously larger motor, larger injection, all that stuff.
Right.
But and aluminum heads and block, and I mean, all the latest greatest. But back when he drove, it was all iron, everything
Wow.
iron on it, because the aluminum stuff was real expensive back
Oh,
then,
sure. Yeah,
and you just did it in your backyard.
that's right. Well, not many top fuel cars had the aluminum motors. Those came in the mid '70s.
Yeah.
That was the latest trick deal there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, tell us. Well, there's some interesting folks involved in the history of the car. The famous Jack Harris from your area, who you know very well. Tell us a little bit about Jack's involvement.
Well, his involvement really, I mean, he was good friends with my dad. And so when Jack, he had a front motored car, probably one of the only ones in Kaysville where my dad and him both lived. And he went over and measured the chassis up and made a blueprint, and then bought the rear seat kit from Mark Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And then had it all welded up and everything. And then that was the car from the 69, and a lot of those same pieces, a lot of those same bars are still in that car, the majority of them, really. And so it was a 180-inch wheelbase in 69, which was really pretty long.
Yeah, it's a pretty long car for that.
Right. That was a pretty long car.
Right.
You know
what? Matter of fact, one of the motors is from Jack's car, right?
Yeah. Jack had a car called the Bad Hombre, and he had twin motors in it. And I know he had small blocks in it, and then I think he had big blocks in it too at one point in time. But one of the small blocks from that Bad Hombre was my dad's first small block engine that he bought, and so that would have probably been right in 69, because I don't think. Or 68 possibly, when he bought that motor from Jack and then ran it till who knows what happened and blew up, right, or whatever, you move on to the next.
Got it. Well, that's probably the 310, and then he built that bad 336 probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty cool. Well, that's awesome. How over the years you ended up with the car? How did that happen? How did you transition the car from your dad to you?
He quit racing in 1980. Just the bracket racing stuff was coming, and he just didn't get it. He just was more leg it out through the other end, and bracket racing was coming. So he quit, and then he was going to build a rear engine car because that was the thing. And then he just never did. Mm-hmm. It just never happened. And then he stopped in 80. So in 92, we decided to go racing again. And a friend of mine, Boyd Abercrombie, we kind of partnered all up in it, because he was like, yeah, Boyd, come get the car, come get it, and let's go racing again. And so then we all started racing again. And my mom's like, you guys got a couple years to race, and then that's it. I want my kitchen done. And so then we just never, after you buy everything and you get everything going, and fire suit and everything, SFI, this and that, whatever, and then it just kind of kept going.
Yeah. Where do you race out there? I mean, obviously, Bonneville's not there anymore, right?
No. So Bonneville turned into Rocky Mountain Raceways.
Okay.
And it was there until 2018 when they closed it down. And so now it's all travel everywhere. So with sixes for us between Grand Junction and Boise, race a lot in Grand Junction, pretty much. And
right,
we've been running my daughter's junior over there quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Just travel around to wherever Vegas is probably the next closest track, and then after that it's all Arizona, California, right, so on.
Right. Wow, amazing. Well, how did the 2024 season go for you?
Well, we got in a bad accident in 2022, an auto accident, and so since then I've been just pretty much running the junior, mm-hmm, just kind of focusing on it. There was stuff I have to get changed on the car and get it fixed, and so on and so forth. And at the time, when that year was going on, I was rehabbing from all that. So I haven't been in the car since June of 22.
Oh, good. So I hope everything's doing well and coming back together nicely.
Yeah, just like I said, it's going to make a couple changes on the car, and then go out and check all the SFI, everything, because I can't remember what's expired.
Right. Yeah, you got to check all the tags and make sure everything's good.
Hopefully next year we'll have it out and go run it again.
Well, that sounds good. Well, let's got Mr. Bachman checking the chat. I see he's over there doing some work. John, who's out there and what do they have to say?
We have people here from coast to coast tonight, and they're all having a great time listening to this interview. Scott Strong posted, Jed had the fastest car on the boulevard. We ran gear for gear up Second North one night. I hung with him until third gear.
Yeah, that was
He's telling
my
some tales on you.
the 68
And
that's what. Yeah, I've known. Well, went to high school with Scott, so yeah, I've known him for a lot of years.
Awesome.
And let's see, Rich Panicaro from New Jersey is here tonight, and he says, "Hey, gang." And Jack Red is with us tonight. He says, "Good evening, everyone." Kay Thurkleston is with us in Salt Lake City, and she says, "Good evening to everybody."
Howdy.
Randy Johnston posted NE2, and then underneath that he said, "Small cube engine running H70, cool."
Well, that back then, that's what Dad ran, was 870. The fastest we've been with it since was a 718 at 187.
Wow.
We were trying to run in 70 Pro, but you're 2/10 behind. So we
Right.
pretty much run. We've run NE1. I won the first race, I think, in Vegas when it was Good Guys, the first one that they had back then. And so I got the Hemi, the Good Guys Hemi from that race.
Well, that's cool. That answers a question I had later. What was your favorite race, or how successful have you been?
I've had some pretty good success over the years. I won a Wally at a heritage race. It was in Salt Lake City, and that was a 70 Pro, and it was 740 index van. I won that race. When we were IHRA in Salt Lake, I'd won an Ironman and Super Pro, and then the Good Guys Hemi that I got for that one, and then I kind of lucked out. I got like 5 track championships at Rocky Mountain Raceway. So we ran
Ain't no luck into a track championship, brother. Come on now.
quick 16 and super quick, or whatever the class was called at the time. Ran
That's
a lot
awesome.
of that.
Beautiful. Well, that's a great commentary. Got started by the chat. John, anybody else out there with a thought?
Yeah, we have a few more. Nitro Joe is in the house, and Kenny Martin says from Puyallup, Washington, now Salt Lake City. Kenny is our racer of the week this week, and another Kenny Martin, might be the same Kenny Martin, says, "My dad is Kenny Martin from Puyallup Dragway."
I reckon that's something. Well, Kenny, we got to get you on here talking. When I saw the racer of the week, I'm like, hang on now, I'm gonna get you on one of these days. What else you got, John? Anybody else?
And Pete Mariello in Los Angeles says hello, and he said it was great to spend some time with Bill Pratt at the Nitro Revival. He said, "You need to come with him next time, JB." And let's see, he said he has good memories of racing the California Independent Funny Car Association in Grand Junction. And Haley Dubach says from Utah, she says, "Just watching at work. Hi, Dad." And
we might have to pull her
Salt
out of the other
City
room
Muscle,
and say a
which
few
is
words
Kay
later.
Thurkelson, she says,
go ahead, John. Sorry, I know that I spoke over you a little bit. What does Kay have to say? John, you were saying Kay had a thought?
Yeah, let's see. Salt City Muscle says Jed's friend Rob Palmer is here as well.
Yeah, I went to high school with Rob Palmer.
Cool.
And she also said the Dubach family has been and always will be a very special part of the Utah drag racing community, and I agree 100%. Pat Brown from Salt Lake City is happy to be here. And Kay said, "Hey, Miss Pat." And we're caught up for the moment.
All right, thank you, John. Well, you brought the home crowd there tonight. Jen, great job. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. So I was so you covered a couple of my next question is like, what were your favorite races, finishes, or records? So let's have 718 at 187, an Ironman, a Wally, and a Good Guys trophy, and about 5 track championships. Pretty amazing. Who were some of your
Then other
favorite?
that I don't even remember. You know,
Well, when you're the man, you can't keep
yeah, I
track
don't
of
know
them
about
all.
that, but
Who were some of your favorite opponents over the years? Anybody you especially like to race or
no,
especially like to beat?
no, nobody really. I mean, well, everybody I'd like to beat, but pretty much everybody. Like I've always said, you're friends when you're in the pits. You put on your helmet, you're enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Take off our helmet again, now we're friends again. You know, and I've got tons of friends that and that's 90% of it. It seems like is the people you talk to at the race and you hang out with and all that because you're on the track for very little of the weekend.
Right. Yeah. Seconds at a time, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you get 10 runs, that's only 70 seconds. Holy cow.
Exactly. And you're there for 3 days or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, who are some of the folks over the years who've helped you out the most to kind of got you started or helped you tune the car or whatever?
Well, my dad, obviously, was a big part of all that, where he got into all the racing and all that stuff. And then Greg Layton has helped out a lot. He helped my dad in the 70s, and then he still helped us, into the 2022. He was there, and he's like, hey, and I don't know if you're aware or not, my dad had passed away in 23, January of 23.
Sorry to hear that. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. And so Greg's like, you know what, I'm going to help you out and get the car back out again and all that. He says, I'll be there for it. So, I appreciate that. Obviously, Brett Harris from, Jack Harris Auto Body and Jack actually passed away. He'd helped us out a bunch. Larry and Gold from Fast Lane Machine, they do all the cylinder heads and all that. Vern from Horsepower Farm does all of our engine stuff. Chris from Signworks, and then Bruno Perry does all the lettering and pinstriping and stuff on all the cars and helmets and all that fun stuff. So
awesome. Well, great job. The car looks beautiful. I mean, have you ever done any car shows or anything?
That paint was put on there in 95.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still the same paint job. Just take care of it and it'll last a while.
I love it. What do you think, John? John's the artist here, isn't he? Got it. Well, let's see. So, well, what about any, you travel all over the West there. You guys are, kind of at a disadvantage in terms of how far you have to travel.
Yeah.
Got any crazy road stories for getting to or from the track or anything happened at the track that comes to mind?
Yeah, probably so many of them that I could write a book. Can't think of anything off the top of my head that's, just outrageous besides probably the craziest one we ever did was we went to St. George and they used to have a Thanksgiving race. So they would hold it like on that Saturday after Thanksgiving. So Friday we decided, hey, let's head out. So a couple of friends were going down with us, and man, we started heading out, and the snow started coming, and so we better get out and get going before we get stuck in this thing. And so St. George is probably a 6-hour ride or 6.5-hour ride. I can't remember for sure, but we started out and the Jazz game had let out and roads were icy, and so we got stuck in traffic. And next thing you know, we're kind of sliding off the road. We unhook the trailer, we drive back into town because we're at the point of the mountain at this time, drive back into Salt Lake, try and find some tire chains, get some, we get going, and every time we come into the back of the storm and we end up sliding off the road, once have to get towed off and whatever. So this 6-hour trip took us, by the time we got to St. George, because we kept saying, oh, let's turn around. Next thing you know, man, we're going pretty good. And then we drive into the back of the storm.
Right.
It took us like 12 hours to drive.
Oh my God.
And we show up and snow probably, I don't know, 2 feet of snow on the trailer. Kids are over there. Hey, can we have the snow? Can we make snowmen? Because we're in St. George. This is cool.
Wow.
It was just melting away.
Some I don't think those big old trailers are hard enough to pull and maneuver as it is, but
Yeah,
I can't imagine with 2 feet of snow on the top of it. How much
it was
more weight does that add? And
like we figured it would disappear as we left, but we didn't. We showed up and people, I think they said something about it. God, yeah, we had people come down that even had snow on their trailers.
yeah,
So that's probably the craziest one that I can really think of off the top of my head.
that's wild. What was the event? Was it a racing event or a car show?
Yeah, no, it was a drag race that we were going to. There used to be a track in St. George,
Mhm.
on top of a plateau. It was an old airport. Now think I think the city owned it, and I believe it's probably an airport again. I think I'm not 100% sure on that, but
Right. Wow, it's amazing. So, did that race actually get off? I mean, was there
oh
no?
yeah, no, St. George
Wow.
is warm. It's just from here to Cedar City, which is about an hour from St. George, is
Right.
where all the horrible weather is.
Wow, that's amazing. You imagine pulling into a drag strip and some people got, snow on their trailers and
Yeah, the
you
only
get the
other one I
event
can
off.
think of for sure is we got locked into a racetrack in Verona, California. We went down there for a junior race and raced. And I told him, I says, I got to stay at the hotel and I got to come get my trailer Monday morning. Yeah, no
Mhm.
problem. We show up, the gates open, we roll in, we hook up the trailer, all this, getting ready. I'll hit the bathroom. We go to leave, and I'd shut the gate, but we didn't lock it.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't locked, obviously, when we pulled in. And my dad jumps out and he's like, the gate's locked. And I said, it's not locked. I just shut it. And I go, sure, there it was. There was a lock on the,
Wow.
and I didn't see anybody. And we're like, how do we get out of here now? We got to drive home. And so I called, and the guy gave me the combination finally, and got the gate open. And I'm like, so I'd never been actually locked in a racetrack trying to, leave to
Yeah,
go home.
that's a new one on me. Right?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Wow. But where are we at here? 8:25. John, we have any other folks on the chat with any questions or thoughts?
Yes, we've had a few more comments and they're really good. Nitro Joe, this was from earlier, right after we had the first chat board uh, announcements. He said, I have more friends at the racetrack than I ever had around home.
Mm-hmm.
And you got them here, Nitro Joe, too.
Yep.
And Kenny Martin said, I'll get a hold of my dad and my sisters can help him out.
Okay, good.
And
Yeah, well, you
Kenny
guys,
Martin said, oh, I'm sorry, I posted that twice. Randy, Randy Johnston asked, Randy asked, why has it been so difficult to get any replacement strip in Salt Lake City?
Well, it's land probably. I mean, we got mountains on one end and we got water on the other. So you can only go so far up the mountain. You can only go so far till you hit water. And if you're going to put a track here, it needs to be close to Salt Lake City itself, because you've got to be able to put people in the bleachers. And so you can go north or south, but then the farther you get away from Salt Lake, which is your nucleus, it just gets tougher and tougher. So I don't know. I mean, if we can get a track here, I mean, I'd help in any way, shape possible, whatever. And it would be great to get a track back here, but because we've got enough people here to support it.
Mhm.
Obviously.
Jed,
Yes,
what was
absolutely.
what was the reason that Rocky Mountain Raceways closed down, the old Bonneville? Was there somebody bought it out?
No, Spencer Young that owned it sold it, and it's now warehouses or what have you. I don't know the exact reason why he sold it. I mean, there's speculation all over the place, but
Mhm.
you'd have to ask him for sure, why he sold it. But
Well, I just came from Irwindale, and the talk about out there is that they were,
Yep.
converting that, which is unfortunate. But
and it's happened with all the tracks. I mean, Irwindale, and that's been threatening to close for a while. And same with Sacramento, and Sacramento just closed, and it was a big, it was going to close for. And then look at Arizona too, Phoenix.
Right.
That one was it was gone, and then it got resurrected. And so, and that one there, like that picture where my daughter, that's where she won the Wally at, was Wild Horse Pass.
Wow.
And then I think the next year was its last year. And so we went down, and then we went down again, last year. And so we'll probably go down again this next year, because this next year's your last year in juniors.
Oh, awesome. Well, you're stay keeping your hand in as a tuner for sure.
Well, it's one of those things where the junior kids, when the track closed, when Rocky Mountain closed, I just didn't have the heart to tell them, because I had two girls in it at the time. My one's aged out since, that hey, your racing career's over because Salt Lake closed.
Right.
It's not something that you can go, what, let's put it on hold. We'll come back in 5 years and we'll go racing again. And the
Right.
their career's only allowed so many years.
Right.
And then they're done. So I'm like, let's just travel, I guess.
Awesome. Great, Dad. John, anybody else with a thought on the chat while we were out there? Sorry, John, did anyone else have a thought on the chat line? We might be having some audio difficulties here.
Technical difficulties.
It happens.
Yeah, man. When I go to copy and paste the chat into the notepad, y'all's voices are breaking up, but that's my computer doing it.
Okay.
So it's
we gotta
all
do
good.
something about that. We'll get you.
We have several more comments. If y'all want to hear them now, I can hold off.
Yeah, no, well, let's hear him, and then let's give Jed a chance.
Matt
to respond to each one.
Schoenfeld says our open trailers.
Oh yeah.
Matt Schoenfeld says our open trailers back then with the dragsters covered in snow. How times have changed.
Mm-hmm.
There's a famous Salt Lake name right there.
Matt Schoenfeld. See, that's he's one of my good friends that I've raced with forever, and his dad Sonny and my dad, they raced each other for years, and then I helped Sonny for a couple of years. First time I ever went to Boise, I was with Sonny, and the first time I ever went to Las Vegas, I was with Sonny.
Awesome. Is that the Want Bird team?
No, that was Paul Schoenfeld.
Paul Film, right?
Want Bird, right. And that was I believe it's their cousin.
Okay, gotcha.
So still a relation there, but no, Sonny ran Econo Dragster. I want to say, can't remember if he was like B Econo or A Econo Dragster. And so he ran in comp also with Dad.
Right.
And they raced each other for, geez, I don't even know how many years.
A couple decades, probably.
Yeah, at least.
That's awesome. All right, John, what's next? Keep teeing him up. Well, Jed will knock him out of the park.
Haley Dubach said you should tell the story of the Arizona trip with Grandpa and the gray truck versus the washer and dryer.
The gray truck versus geez. Okay, yeah, we were staying in a condo of ours, and it's got a washer and dryer in the garage. And so I had my gray Duramax, and I pull it in the garage, and it's outside, and keep it from outside. And so I pull it in, and it had a step in the garage, and the washer and dryer were on top of it. And so I pull up, and the front wheels are against the step, and I'm not all the way in the garage yet, and the floor's kind of slick in there, and so I'm trying to give it a little gas to get it over this hump, just move it over the hump a little bit, and the back wheels are spinning, and it's kind of sliding to the one side or the other, and it ain't happening. So I back up a little bit, and my dad's in the front, watching the washer and dryer, and I kind of get a little bit of a run and see if I can just kind of hop it on that little step. It didn't do it. Do it again, and it flies up over this step. And the look on my dad's face, because he thought I was going into the washer and dryer with the front of the truck, and he just total and then I'm on the brakes, and then he just leans on the hood, and he's just laughing because I'm probably 3 inches from the washer and dryer. It's like, yeah, that's the last damn thing I need to do now is replace the washer and dryer.
Yeah.
And so then we backed it in after that, and it worked much better.
There you go. Need one of those tennis balls on a string. That's what you need.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good story. Awesome, Haley. What's up? What else we got, John?
Kay Thurkelson said, we all want our track back. And
Yeah.
Rich Panicaro said, so do we in New Jersey. And so do I in Houston.
Yeah, Rich is an ATCO racer. John's, Houston,
Yep.
obviously.
I mean, that's the thing is we're losing more tracks than we're gaining, and we're not gaining really hardly any. I mean,
okay. Hold on a second,
All right.
Nitro Joe said, here's a question for Jed. If I come back driving, I want a front engine dragster. Who do you feel is the best chassis builder for front engine dragsters?
well, the only one I know for sure is Frank Parks, and Frank's not building them anymore, but I know that you can go there and you do all the work on it, you do all the welding, and he'll show you. I mean, you pay him to he'll show you how to put a car together.
That's interesting.
I don't know anybody else that really builds front motored cars. I mean, I'm sure that they're probably out there. There's probably a couple here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're doing, I can't even think of anybody that builds, but.
Well, we know folks who build them as hobbies out there, but that's an interesting question. I mean, when these guys, get these, the big show nostalgia cars, if you will, the 570 cars, 560 cars.
And I'm trying to think of who all the chassis builders are that I'm thinking of. That I know there was Ruman was here, but I think he's back in Australia now. I know he was building cars at one point in time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Tuttle does them or I don't know for sure without really looking into it.
Joe will have to look it up together, man. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Nitro Jackson, stat man. It's awesome. What else we got, John?
Well, Nitro Joe just came back and he said, on the racetrack deal, what is happening, land for housing complex is skyrocketing. And, I agree with that. It's just, there's urban sprawl, and it's taken over what used to be the wilderness out there, where we had drag strips, and now it's strip malls and apartment complexes. Matt Schoenfeld says, I know who builds killer short wheelbase cars.
Oh,
Ron Austin.
Ron Austin will do. Yep. If you're looking for like an Alderd or a Fiat or something short, yeah. And I've seen his work, man, and it's phenomenal.
Awesome. Does Nitro Joe live around Salt Lake? I thought he was an Ohio boy or something. I mean,
I don't know.
I'm not sure. We'll have to find out. Well,
that's a good reference for Nitro Joe. He should check in with Ron Austin on that.
Yeah, I believe he's up in Oregon. If he's looking for a short car.
Well, the cars that I've seen run like at the California Hot Rod reunion, those chassis are really great, man, and they're flexible. You can see them flex when the driver hits the gas and the car goes forward. It bows up and it flattens back down again, and I don't remember that they were always like that. I think it's a good feature to have. I think it helps with weight distribution, aerodynamics, all kinds of different things,
Every type of car is different, and they have different power curves, different torque curves, all kinds of interesting stuff. Smart people figure that out. It's pretty amazing how fast we go.
Randy Johnston just posted that.
Yes.
Okay, Randy said there's a road course southwest of the city, which seems like a logical choice for a new track.
Oh, Yeah, it's UMC is what it is. It's the old Larry H. Miller. Um, we right when the track was closing, I got a friend that we went down and we looked at the where to put a track, and there kind of was a spot to put it, but you were shoehorning it in. Um, the best thing that could happen there is if the people that own it bought property, whichever way, north, south, east, west, and added a drag strip to it. But again, you know, they'd have to do it because where it's already a racetrack, it'd be easy to do, but it's buying the property whichever way it is, whichever the best way to buy property would be.
Awesome. Well, we're solving all this Salt Lake City motorsports stuff right here tonight, guy.
Yeah.
Jed, do you have any interest away from drag racing? What do you do when you're not at the strip?
Nothing real. I mean, football season's on right now, so I watch some NFL football, but other than that, it's pretty much it's racing. I'm either watching racing, I'm at a race, or I'm working on race stuff.
Mm-hmm. Pretty cool. And finally, are we at 38? Still got a couple minutes left. John, did anyone else have any questions or comments?
Well, Mark Malinsky just showed up from New Jersey, and he says, "Good evening, everybody." Mark, it's great to have you with us. And Nitro Joe, we were talking about his chassis option here, and he says that he loves nostalgia dragsters and alters. That's what he's all about.
He's the man. The great stat man, the great Nitro Joe in drag racing stats, covering the sportsmen while the blower snobs like me put the blown cars.
Well, he just added that 8th Mile is great also, and I agree with that too. Seen some great drag racing on an 8th Mile track.
Yeah. 8th Mile is a little tougher to do. And we had, Ed Jones, the wheel standing Ed Jones, he had a track up in Pocatello. And it used to be when my dad was racing, it was quarter mile. And then when Ed took over the lease, he turned it into an 8th Mile track. He was going to make it quarter mile, and it never came about because there was, the property, but you'd had to do a lot of work and money and stuff. So he made it 8th Mile. And so we ran 8th Mile up there for I don't know how many years it was. And if you could win on the 8th Mile track, the one thing it did is it made me a much better quarter mile racer.
Yeah, things
happened so fast. I remember doing the first burnout, looking out there to put it in reverse, and I was like, "Is that the finish line right there?" And I'm like, "It's the last cone. It's got to be." Man, I can almost spit on it from here. Whatever, back up, and then ran, and then after you win a few races, you're like, quarter mile was like easy. It seemed like.
Yeah. Well, your reaction time is a bigger percentage of your overall run, for one thing. So you can't really.
Yeah, you don't have as much time to figure out what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Pretty fascinating. Yeah, it's I'll go either way. 1,000 foot's a new thing on me, but
yeah,
8th Mile's fun. Let's see. Well, we got. Can folks go ahead, John? You got something?
Yes, Jim Cummings in New York just checked in with us, and he's got an awesome front motor dragster. It's called Seconds of Pleasure. We had him on the show. He's the head of the East Coast Fuelers, and it looks like it would give the Iron Butterfly one hell of a race. I think it would be really nice, And Randy Johnston also added that there's the 8th Mile track in Idaho Falls.
Yeah, that one is just this next year is going to be a big thing. Ralph Perea, that actually worked down in Salt Lake, is kind of overseeing it, and I don't know if he's going to be running it or what is official, but he's into it pretty deep up there. Been going up there quite a bit and stuff, and so they're going to put out a schedule. It's going to be NHRA sanctioned, all that stuff. So that there's another avenue right there, because that's probably 2.5 hours or so from us, I believe.
Well, that's actually closer than I thought it was. Not that far from Idaho, then, huh?
No, we're probably from the border. We're about an hour, hour and a half or so, something like that. It seems like from the border, so it's not too far from Idaho.
That's not bad. Yeah, us Easterners, I'm right here in Maryland, so we're 4 hours north is the English town in New York tracks, and 4 hours south we're in the Carolinas. So
Yeah,
we're it's an embarrassment of riches for us out here.
yeah.
I feel like
You travel the same amount of distance. You've already covered 2 states.
yeah, I know, yeah.
I'm
So
still
like
south.
seems like every one of your travels is like 10 miles or 10 hours, but
Yeah.
well, we appreciate you doing it. I mean, John, do we have any final thoughts from the guys and gals on the chat line?
Well, everybody's exchanging pleasantries right now. It's pre-Thanksgiving, and everybody wants
Oh yeah.
wants everybody to have a good time, and
Yeah.
we're wishing you the same, Jed,
Yeah, you
for
too.
sure.
You have they're all exchanging pleasantries. They're not at one another's throats, so it must have been a good show, Jed.
Yeah.
How can folks find you on the internet? Can they follow along with you or Haley's racing efforts?
Yeah. Well, it's Courtney actually.
Oh,
Haley's
Courtney, I'm sorry, pardon me.
Haley's my daughter that aged out.
Okay, gotcha.
If there's a Facebook of Iron Butterfly Racing is out there, and or I have a Facebook page also. Okay, yeah,
say hello.
Money. There you go.
I love it. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to visit with you tonight, and
I appreciate it.
Glad to hear you're on the mend, and
yeah,
we'll see you out there here. So you think we'll see you in 2025 with the Iron Butterfly?
Yeah, I hope so. Just got to get some stuff figured out and this and that, and get it going.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a pleasure talking to you, meeting you.
Yeah.
And have a great Thanksgiving, a great Christmas, and New Year's, and I'm sure Miss Kay will keep us up to speed on what you're doing, but
yeah,
we'll chat again one of these days.
Okay, for sure. Maybe at the racetrack, huh?
You bet. We'll get out there one of these days.
Yeah, somewhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jed Dubach of the famous Dubach racing family. All the best to you, sir, and we'll see you somewhere down the road.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye. All right, let's see. And we'll say farewell to Jed, and we'll turn it over to John for this week's JB's Take and the Racer of the Week. John, go for it.
Thanks, BP. My pick for Racer of the Week is Kenny Martin from Puyallup, Washington. Kenny was recommended to me by our producer, Kay Thurkelson, with essential input from our friend and Kenny's nephew, Jim Witham. And thanks, Kay and Jim. Kenny Martin was one of the early funny car racers out of the Pacific Northwest with his home-built Corvette. In 1969, the rugged-looking car was replaced by the new state-of-the-art Ken Speed Shop Corvette. The new Corvette was powered by a Chevrolet engine on moderate doses of nitromethane to make it competitive but bulletproof. And Kenny did very well in the Northwest funny car scene during the late 60s and early 70s with this car. He then added new partner Don Ray and switched over to a new Chrysler-powered funny car. And Kenny would continue to race his Corvette until 1973 before retiring from racing. The Flintstone was his first hand-built car, and in the graphic, it's in the upper left corner. His first Vet was called Vet from Uncle. And he built a competitive funny car in 1969 for $8,500. The Ken Speed Shop Corvette. They did build their own chassis, tin, paint, etc., and put together the engine themselves. However, they had John Garrison do the machining and heads, so they didn't cut too many corners. It was stock stroke, steel block, and heads, direct drive with no reverser. It ran very strong and consistently. Kenny finished second in points behind Jerry Ruth, and that was only because they didn't run all the points races. They beat Jerry every time they ran him. Kenny won a ton of match races. The car paid for itself 4 or 5 times over. The engine lasted a year and a half with little maintenance, except wearing out a few blowers. The 426 was still running fine. It had way over 150 runs on it, but the car owner decided he wouldn't race on Sundays anymore. A story by Fred Vosk from his brief encounter with one of the traveling javelin deals. He calls it the Montana Nationals. It might have been part of the first funny cars ran in Montana. It was in 68 or 69 at a really funky strip at Great Falls. They took two cars, Kenny's Chevy powered 65 Vet and the dreaded Can-Am Scorpion, run by Larry Palmer, or as he was called, Scorp. Fred was working on the Javelin, on the Scorpion, on that trip, although after that he joined up with Kenny and they built a killer 69 Vet, high percentage nitro, stock stroke, 426, direct drive, ultralight. They won a lot with that dude. Anyway, back to Great Falls. Fred can't remember who won. He thinks they both made all 3 rounds, though. He does remember a display they did at the local shopping mall on Saturday. That place was really down home. Everybody had those hubcap belt buckles. Even the girls, or gals as they call them, the whole deal was a lot like walking into a Yosemite Sam cartoon. And they were sitting there in the mall with the cars, and the locals were bringing them booze. He guessed that's how they welcome you to Montana. Not like drinks in glasses or even paper cups. They were bringing bottles, mostly vodka or whiskey. They ended up with all of it because Kenny and his guys were Mormons and they did not drink alcohol. And the folks who came to our little show at the mall were great. Fred especially remembers one kid. He looked like little Abner. He asked them about the cars and then proceeded to tell them about his uncle from up Haverway. They later found out that Haver was a town. So his uncle was a train engineer and drove a locomotive with over 10 or 20,000 horsepower or something. And after he helped the team with 4 or 5 bottles of vodka, he couldn't remember how many horsepower either. He invited them to come up Haverway after the race, but they had to pass. They had to get back to the real world before they pulled that citizenship. Fred heard about people who went up Haverway and were never seen again. He later found out Haver is actually spelled Havre like French. Little did he suspect that Montana is actually a part of France, but no wonder it took so long to drive there. Little did Fred know French was a second language in Montana. The strip they ran at was a little ways out of town, maybe up a hill, and he thinks the strip was too. He remembers the pits were really small and crowded, kind of like chaos. He also remembers that after the race, they stopped at a roadhouse at a big tavern by a river. They drank beer and listened to a Western band. Another big night of drinking with Kenny and his boys. It was a lot of fun, though. Between the local racers and the cowboys at the bar, and all big blonde women with hair piled up on top of their heads who laughed real loud, nobody let them pay for their beer or anything else that night. They were right nice folks. They cooked a great steak, too. Anyway, they had a bunch of fun. And I don't think alcoholic beer had been invented yet, certainly not in Montana, so they stuck to lemonade, or at least that's what they said it was. And that's one of the road stories from Fred Vosk that was posted on Draglist. Kenny and his partner and team lived the best of times together with an outstanding hot rod. And I'm proud to feature them in my segment tonight. And thanks to Kay and Jim for their help in putting this segment together. Everybody stay safe and well, and have a great Thanksgiving. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. We look forward to having y'all with us every week. It's a great way for us to spend an hour together on a Monday night. And I'll see y'all next time. God bless America. Back to you, BP.
Thank you, John. Wow, taking me back to the Draglist old days with Freddie Vosk, who wrote some amazing stories back in the day. Those are on the old HTML pages on Draglist, where I used to like literally write a separate story every single day. I'll have to got to yank them into the future one of these days. They're still out there if you can search for them on Google or
It's
go to
there.
our online thing. It's thing makes me look like I have a 44 bust. It's really it's kind of bunching up on me, guys. Don't anybody get excited. Anyway, thank you, John. Great stuff. Let's go on and check out our segments here. What's coming up? What's coming up? Miss K's been busy, and she's bringing us all kinds of talent from all kinds of angles. Next Monday night, we're going to have the lovely young Alex Taylor visiting with us. This young lady set a land speed record at Speed Week this year, and she's been on TV and she's all over the place. She's all over Facebook. Look her up, Alex Taylor. She does a lot of interviewing herself of fellow racers online. So we're going to have Miss Alex Taylor joining us next Monday night, and then we'll look at the rest of December. Kay and I need to get our heads together and figure out what we're going to do. We'll take a look and see if we're making sure there's enough room for the holiday activities as well. So, but next Monday night, Alex Taylor joins us here on Draglist Live. Going on to those, we lost two names to report this week. On the 20th of November, we lost Eli Pops Lopez, really great a racer in the Lucas Oil Racing Series. His son races still. Farewell to Eli Pops Lopez. And then a big name for you Mopar fans. On the 21st, we lost Gene Dunlap, one of the drivers of those famous rod shop Mopars over the years. Everything from pro stock to super stock to you name it. Look him up. He's amazing. Tons and tons of wins and tons and tons of late finishes. Gene Dunlap passing away on the 21st of November. With that, we're getting ready to say farewell to you all for this evening. John, any final thoughts from you on this evening's show or anything else?
Well, it was great to have Jed Dubach with us tonight. The guy is an authority on drag racing, and everything that he's done has just been outstanding. And we look forward to having him back with us in the future. And I had a great time on the chat board tonight with y'all. Y'all are just wonderful people. And thank you for coming on the show and being with us tonight. And like I say, happy Thanksgiving, and don't eat too much, but be safe and be happy.
You bet. Thank you, John. And so we do want to thank Jed Dubach, who was terrific. John Bachman, of course, my brother, Miss Kay Turkelson, who's amazing and is getting us all these great guests, and she's just adorable anyway. Rob McCabe for keeping up the drag list. So we don't have the World Finals into the drag racing links yet, but Rob is on it. So really happy to see our recent guest, Gary Pritchett, go 2 rounds and top fuel with the Bunny and the Boys Fueler out of the Scrappers Racing camp there at the World Finals. Congrats to Gary. And 341.68 miles an hour for the young man who drives the John Force car. Let's see, Mr. Proc, the young Mr. Proc, 3rd generation racers, doing a great job. And of course, to the 100th, that's exactly the speed that Bob Tasca III ran down in Florida at Bradenton earlier before the season started, down there in February at the pro race. So they both went 341.68. They're both going to have a 100 rating in Draglist. And that makes me think I have to maybe think my algorithm a little bit, because we keep it all within 1 year if you run the same speed within that year. But man, Tasca put like 10 months on them, and they're both going to get the same rating. Something for me to think about as we continually look at our rating system over the years. Anyway, congrats to all the and of course the terrific the rest of everybody. Greg Anderson coming back for the big win. We really didn't talk about all the winners there for the NHRA, but pretty amazing what everybody did this year. Congrats to all. And
I thought the 341s were milestones in the sport. And for Antron to come from third place to win the championship,
Yeah.
and he did it at one event, that was just fantastic.
Our buddy Antron's amazing. Somebody asked me where I was at one of my, I do a lot of networking in the Washington, D.C. area here for IT in the federal government. And so I was at an event last week and somebody said, "Oh, drag racing. That's interesting. Tell me something about drag racing that I would find amazing." And of course, what I did is, the speed's one thing, but I said it's the most diverse major sport in the world, bar none. In fact, so with, of course, Erica over the last couple of years winning the championships, going way back to Shirley. I mentioned Shirley Muldowney is a first three-time winner in the highest, the fastest category in the sport. And of course, now Antron Brown, both as a driver and an owner, four-time, world champion, and of course, African-American, and he's amazing. So, but diversity, we got it right here in the NHRA, right here in drag racing. It's all about having fun and going fast with your friends, as Jed was saying earlier. And I love our community. And anyway, pretty cool stuff. Anyway, congrats to all the NHRA winners. I'm glad to see IHRA looks like it's coming back a little bit. That's very exciting. We'll keep an eye on that. But anyway, lots of stuff going on over the silly season. We'll watch things happen. Of course, so once again, Rob McCabe doing a great job. Mel Bushore taking care of us with the older entries. Thank you, sir. And of course, Danny White, the man. Thanks forever to him. By the way, saw that Gina White got engaged. She put up a post on Facebook. Congratulations, sweetheart. Praying for your happiness, and that's great news. Thanks. Continue on. Thanks to Jeff Gilder of Zeus. How about if I say his whole name? Jeff Gilder of Zeus Digital Marketing, Racers Reunion, and Wingding Media, who got us started so many years ago. Click the like, click the share, and click the subscribe button. I did put up something on the front page of Draglist this week with a big old Draglist sticker and said, "Here is where our show is." And then John putting up the URL every single day that we do the show, every Monday. So I really appreciate that. Trying to let everybody know we are out here on YouTube. I also, by the way, if you guys are peeking at the front page of our YouTube channel, I stuck one video from Irwindale up there, which I had saved off to Facebook and sent it up there live when I was in Irwindale. But I'll be copying all of those things over. I figured out how to do it. And of course, we got to copy all of the other shows we've done all the way back to 2010 and get them out there on YouTube. That's going to be a heck of a thing. Anybody got any young people who want to come work as an intern? I got a job for them. Anyway, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. My sister Nancy shows up tomorrow. My sister Judy and her boyfriend Bill are coming as well. Going to have a great week of family hanging out. Hope you all do too. Warm and wonderful and loving with your friends and family. And then eat, like John says, eat, and we'll fast later. And then we will see you next Monday night, ladies and gentlemen, for the lovely and exciting Alex Taylor. Until then, my name is Bill Pratt. On behalf of John and the rest of our team, adios, and we'll see you.